Welcome. Happy Tuesday, OBR subscribers and followers of the OBR streaming network. My name is Joe Mazzulo. This is my man, Pete Smith, and welcome to the May 12th edition of Pete and Joe. We're looking back on rookie mini camp. We're talking about all things offseason. Pete, how you doing, big guy?
All right. How are you?
Oh, I'm okay. I'm hanging in. I've been better, been worse. You know, I like to say it's not good enough to brag. It's not bad enough to bitch, buddy. I'm right in the middle.
It's Browns record day, 5-12, baby.
What's that now?
May 12th, 5-12. Let's go.
Yeah, you think that's where we're heading? That's awfully optimistic.
No, I mean that's where we ended up last year. Well, we'll see.
Well,
you have more.
Fair enough on that.
For the quarterback position than I do.
Well, we've got. Let's see here. We've got the schedule release coming tomorrow night, which I find very interesting.
Thursday.
What's that now?
Thursday.
You're awfully quiet, Pete. Is that a me problem or a you problem?
I don't know. But the schedule release is Thursday.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. It's Tuesday. So yeah, Thursday night, not Wednesday night. Well, we've got some leaks so far, right? I want to say we've got the Friday night Australia game is going to be 49ers Rams. We've got the first Sunday nighter is going to be Cowboys at the Giants. Then the first Thursday nighter for starting in week 2, that's going to be Detroit and Buffalo. And then the Broncos and the Chiefs are the first Monday nighter. Have you heard any rumors about what our opening game is going to be?
No, the only thing I saw was that the Steelers are getting sent to France to play the Saints.
Well, that'll be fun. Wait, weren't we supposed to play the Saints in France? Wasn't that?
No, that was we were one of the teams that was apparently potentially up for that game, but it has been officially announced that that'll be the potentially Aaron Rodgers led Steelers treating the people of France to some sweet football.
Lucky them. And how about, let's see, before we go too far into the schedule stuff, how about Pittsburgh, right? It's reported that Rodgers is going there last week to finalize things and figure everything out. And then all of a sudden, nothing. What do you take that for? Is that just bad media, or does Pittsburgh look like they have egg on their face? Like, I don't get a good grip on that whole deal.
Well, Aaron Rodgers, when did he show up last year? It was June, was it not? If not even later. So yeah, this is way too early for Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers isn't wasting any arm or body on anything unnecessary at this point. He will cruise in most likely for that veteran mini camp, and then go off into whatever he's going to do for 6 weeks before they get to training camp. I think it works to the Steelers' advantage in that they get to sort of let the other guys get reps if they want to see what Will Howard can do, if they want to see what Drew Aller can do. I can't imagine they still want to keep watching Mason Rudolph at this point, but if they want to get a real good look at Will Howard, this is their best opportunity to do it in terms of the OTA stuff. It's not interesting to Aaron Rodgers. He's not going to get a whole lot of benefit, even though everybody would obviously feel better about it if he was there. So I think from the Steelers standpoint, they're probably pretty happy that they're just going to get to roll in there, because if he signs, then everybody's going to be, the immediate reaction is going to be, well, why aren't you at minicamp getting working with all your OTAs and all that stuff, getting work with your teammates? I think this sort of alleviates that. The whole thing is just stupid and bizarre looking. The standpoint of why else is he going to Pittsburgh? The happening scene that it is, other than to get that done. I don't know if he's checking on his place or what.
Is that where his wife lives? In Pittsburgh?
She may live in Canada, near Niagara Falls.
Well, it's so funny that you said that Rodgers wouldn't get anything from it, and I mean, I agree with that completely. But isn't it about the team, right? Isn't that the general thought process? Rodgers doesn't get anything from it, but him being there, doesn't that enhance things for literally everybody else on the roster? To have your guy in charge working with you and communicating with you. I mean, I get what you're saying is that, there's, probably not going to move the needle for Aaron Rodgers, but you got You got 52 other guys on that roster that could benefit from his presence.
No, it's only about Aaron Rodgers. Nothing else matters other than Aaron Rodgers. I mean, yeah, I mean the fact that they've changed his head coaches and theoretically offensive systems and all this other stuff. Yeah, there's certainly reason you'd want Aaron Rodgers to be there, but again, I do think that. I mean, what is the Steelers' plan after Aaron Rodgers gets potentially is laying on the field crumpled up in France? Like, then what? They've got to figure out something else. They've also got to figure out something beyond this year. So as much as Aaron Rodgers could be really useful in terms of all the stuff you're talking about, which would have a real benefit, and the Steelers are still in this theoretically winning now business.
Yeah.
If they see something from Will Howard that looks good, even if it's not for this year, that will give them some confidence heading into next year or inevitably when Aaron Rodgers is laying on the turf and they need somebody else to step in.
Well, it's Mike McCarthy now. It's not Mike Tomlin anymore. But like, don't you kind of get the sense that Pittsburgh knows, look, they're dealing with the Rodgers stuff because they know what's happening, Chef Brian. They're dealing with the Rodgers stuff because they know, like they can probably squeak out 9 or 10 wins with Mason Rudolph and be, ousted in the first round of the playoffs and rinse, repeat, and do that, whether it's Mason Rudolph or whether they're dragging Will Howard or whatever. Rodgers is the only guy that gives them any sort of viable threat in the playoffs, which I don't personally believe that he will take them very far, but he at least gives them the opportunity to not just eke things out and make the playoffs, maybe do something once you get here.
Maybe I'll feel different when I see the schedule stuff, but I just think the AFC North is going to be a more difficult road for the Steelers than it has been. Again, the Bengals are going to be – I think the Bengals are the favorites. The Ravens are not going away. The Browns, depending on how things go on the many, many, many things they have to resolve on the offensive side of the ball, they may become really frisky this year at some point. So, I don't know if Mason Rudolph can carry them to much. I think Mason Rudolph for a 2-3 game stretch, if that's the route they go, which seems unlikely. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers can get signed, I mean, are they going to just dump Will Howard? Are they going to say, are they going to dump Drew Lar? I mean, Mason Rudolph seemingly is the odd man out.
Yeah, that's what I would assume, is that it would be Rudolph. I mean, you're leaving yourself woefully thin behind Rodgers, but you got to think that, Will Howard would probably be able to close the gap between he and Mason Rudolph fairly quickly. I like Will Howard. I think he's a smart kid. He's a tough kid. He's a good athlete.
But that's all the more reason for them to lean into the fact that Rodgers isn't at the OTA stuff, so they can find out if Will Howard can do it. Because if he can't, then the Steelers may just trade him, cut him something, and then go, we have to go with Mason Rudolph. But as far as Mason Rudolph goes, I think he's fine for a 2-3 game stretch. But inevitably, like, people figure him out, and then he just starts throwing picks and everything else, and would potentially start losing the game. So I can't sort of get in the mode, even though I think the Steelers, with the defense they have, the talent they have there, and what should be a stronger running game, though we'll see. I mean, they've got their own issues. It sounds like Fatanu is going to switch to left tackle, and then Max Ahanichur is going to be on the right side. They've still got to get the left guard situation resolved and get all those guys going. They have talent to run the ball. Can they get that stuff squared away and be effective? Then the quarterback position will be less important. Certainly it helps that they've got more talent receiving wise, but still, I think they need Aaron Rodgers still, which is because if they didn't, why even go through all this? They would just, you could just move on.
Well, I mean, it's the quarterback position, and they're not a young enough or depleted enough roster that they could justifiably, pack it in for a season and get a top 5 pick. Like they're good. They're good. It's a good roster. It's a strong roster. They got a strong defense. They got a lot of talent on offense. And if the coaching staff can whip it into shape and Rodgers can give them anything consistent, they're going to be tough. Like that's the whole thing. If the Browns were in a different spot, I believe we would have brought in a veteran quarterback, and maybe not Aaron Rodgers, obviously, but I'm sure we would have called that number once or twice in the offseason to see if he could. We just don't have a roster that's built for it right now, so it makes no sense for us. But Pittsburgh, absolutely. I mean, I like to make jokes all the time about how it's funny that they're just like sitting around waiting on Aaron Rodgers, but I mean that's the bed that they made. That's kind of the position they're in right now. Because if they don't have Aaron Rodgers walk through those doors, it's a completely different outlook on that season.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't have a ton of faith in Will Howard. I just think his arm is kind of meh.
Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe he will surprise me. I mean, obviously he led Ohio State's offense to win a national championship, but like it felt like he was surrounded by a really, really, really good cast, made a couple throws, and they sort of did all the work. We'll see. And it's possible he's gotten stronger in terms of throwing the ball in the time he's been with the Steelers, and maybe that's going to help. Look, I would love to welcome Will Howard as the opponent the Browns have to face as opposed to Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers, I mean, the first game last year was just an absolute nightmare. He just picked them apart. I don't think Will Howard's going to do that. I'm not worried about Mason Rudolph. I think he will just chuck the ball downfield and let it get intercepted or just do something else insane. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers is a problem. It has proven to be a problem. Now the Browns obviously got the win this past year when everybody in the Steelers decided we're not letting Myles Garrett have the sack record, even if it could potentially cost us the division. We'll see how they play it this year, and we'll see if the Browns are better. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers is the whole thing right now, unless something insane happens. Or again, the thing I floated that could be an out for them would be the situation I don't want to see them do, which is Arizona decides, no, we're good with Carson Beck. The Steelers call, hey, we'll give you a pick for Jacoby Brissett. He walks in, and immediately they are a much better football team with a little bit more stability with Brissett. Maybe Aaron Rodgers has the ability to a little more ceiling, but I think Jacoby Brissett offers way higher floor.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. And I mean, you look at Arizona; they signed Gardner Minshew as well. Like they made moves at quarterback, at least the two that we're talking about between Carson Beck and Gardner Minshew. If they ultimately decide to do that, and hell, if I'm Arizona, I'm probably looking to get a pick for Jacoby Brissett because. I mean, I don't know. Are you making moves in the NFC this year if you're Arizona? If you ask me, like they're the betting favorite to be, among the top 3 teams picking in the draft next year. So I would kind of lean into that. I would trade Jacoby Brissett, and I'd let Gardner Minshew and Carson Beck take me to Arch Manning or Dante Moore.
Well, I mean, the incentive there is to play Beck to see if he's going to be anything. If he's not, you're going to go into the quarterback next year. And if he's good, I don't know how good that could be, but if he's somehow like some revelation that nobody saw coming, okay, then you can roll with it. I don't think that's terribly likely. I think the pick was ill-conceived. Nevertheless, it's not unlike the Browns last year with Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. Like everybody's like, well, why are we wasting time with veterans? These guys need to play. We got to find out what we have. That would seemingly be a similar deal for the Cardinals. We'll see if it actually plays out that way. Obviously, Jacoby Brissett is sitting there going, listen, I need to at least get starter money here. And if Arizona's not interested in that, it's more reason for them to ship him off. That is sort of something that's got to be worked out. Presumably, one way or the other, it's got to happen here in the next, 2 months.
Yeah. All right. Well, I was looking over the Browns opponents, and I'm trying to look at some of the backstory stuff to see what the most intriguing matchups could be, like what the NFL is ultimately going to put in week 1 or ultimately could decide to put in week 1, kind of like a spotlight game, I guess. So I've got 6 options. I've got 7 options. Obviously, number 1 for me is the Atlanta Falcons. You're bringing Kevin Stefanski back to Cleveland. That would be a fun opening week game. I would hate it just because I trust Atlanta to be ready week 1 more than I would trust us to be ready week 1. But either way, I like the idea of opening with Baltimore, the former, Monken's former team, division game, all that stuff. Number 3 on my list, I've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Baker Mayfield, but that would be a road game because we're playing in Tampa this year. Number 4, I've got Jacksonville just because of the trade history and all that stuff. And we got, Travis Hunter and, Mason Graham on the other side and kind of Travis Hunter versus Shedeur. If Shedeur is starting at that point, that could be a fun storyline there. I like the Texans as well. That's another callback to the trade. If Deshaun is playing, that might be, a story that we talk about or that the media, bangs on all week. And then 5 and 6, I've got the Titans and I've got the Giants. The Titans, obviously, I got the Cam and Shador, story there and friendship and all that stuff. But the Giants is an interesting one. You got Jackson Dart, you got, Shador, same draft class, all that stuff. You got Monken's old coach, John Harbaugh. Cleveland was interested in John Harbaugh. I feel like there's a lot of good storylines with that one. Out of those teams that I listed, which would you love to see in week 1? What do you think is like the most entertaining and like the best story, just the best matchup for week 1 from a, viewership standpoint?
From a viewership standpoint, none of the above based on where this team is. Look, I mean, Atlanta's going to be a draw no matter when you put it on the schedule. Yeah. It's going to be interesting because neither team has settled a quarterback. Mm-hmm. So there's a part of me that wonders if the NFL wants to get that done very fast or wait to see if those teams get a little bit sorted out. Tennessee's interesting simply because the game last year was really good. Cam Ward is really obviously a interesting player. And then both these teams are probably not going to be good. So you may want to get that one done earlier when they have some juice, as opposed to, hey, it's week 14 and these teams aren't really doing much. And let's throw these guys together. I think the Giants is potentially interesting. I doubt the Giants see it that way, but I think the Giants matchup is certainly interesting because not only you have the Harbaugh element with Todd Monken, you also have the Jackson Dart element, the sort of path not chosen by the Browns from that standpoint at quarterback. So those are the ones that sort of jump out to me. Houston's not – I get it from the trade standpoint, but just in terms of what the teams are doing, that game could end up being like 3-0 based on how good,
the
like
offenses
historically
are doing
good,
and what the defenses are capable of.
I mean, like neither team looks all that threatening at offense, and particularly early. Like I can be talked into the Browns sort of figure things out. I just don't know if it's going to happen in September. So, yeah, I mean, that's the other one that you could throw out there and get it done quick and sort of when it has juice is the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
You get Mendoza. He's going to be a big draw no matter who he plays week 1. Again, both teams are theoretically viable at that point. I don't think that's what's going to happen with Raiders, but that would be interesting. I mean, everything points to this being a divisional game because that's always almost always what we get. But failing that, man, it's tough. It's tough to like pick out a great matchup. Tampa would be great because obviously there's some extra juice there. But if I'm the NFL, I can't wait to put the Bucs against the Falcons. I can't wait. Yeah. It was completely contrived and all this stuff, but you have the little. Not even that interesting of a war of words between Baker Mayfield and Kevin Stefanski. So it's really tough to figure out, like, to hazard a really good guess onto which way the schedule makers are going to go with this thing, because you're just trying to get the Browns, if you're going to like feature them, and I don't know if they're in a huge danger of being in many primetime games, you're probably going to do it earlier than later.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Definitely agree with that. It's interesting how this all shakes out. And I have to backtrack. I don't think the Giants are even an option because I'm pretty sure they're the first Sunday night game of the year, so they won't be the week 1 opponent. I should have taken that off the list right off rip. But, I mean, you're probably right. It has been a division game most recently.
Was Carolina the last one it wasn't?
I think so. Well, no, because Carolina was 2022, and then in 2023 we opened up against Dallas, right? Or no, Dallas was 24. 23 was Cincinnati we opened with, and we tattooed Cincinnati, right?
That doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound remotely right, given how bad the Browns have been on opening day.
I'm trying to think what it was. No, it was
yes,
it was 2023. We opened the season. Deshaun started. We beat Cincinnati like 27-7 or something, or maybe 23-3. Something like
24,
that.
24 was Dallas. Yeah, because the Browns got destroyed. 33-17. 2023, it was Cincinnati. It was Cincinnati, and the Browns did win big. And yes,
they lost week 2 to Pittsburgh. It was a Thursday nighter, and they wore the all-white uniforms. I was so devastated.
so,
That was like the first sign that Deshaun was not good.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I maybe they won't go division. Since the other element of this is they keep backloading everybody to have more divisional games at the end of the year because they have more meaning at that point. So maybe they'll go away from it. Obviously, this past year they had every opportunity to win that game and spit the bit to start out the season well. So hopefully it's a matchup that they've got a shot to come out well with Todd Monken, come out well with whoever's playing quarterback, come out well just offensively in general.
Before we dive too deep into the rookie minicamp stuff, but before we get too into that, talking about quarterback and talking about Deshaun. Now, I've been going over in my head just like from like their perspective, because like you and I talk all the time. Like there's no point to play Deshaun. Like the fans don't want it. There's no future with him. He was so bad the last time he played. He's only gotten, worse physically, I guess you could say, because of the injuries and everything like that. Although people say he's in great shape and yada, yada, yada. Is part of you like a little bit in the back of your head kind of scared that like Jimmy and Andrew might just be like hoping for one more shot to turn this thing around?
I think ownership is entirely focused on dubs. I think they're a little bit short-sighted in terms of how they get there, but I think their entire focus isn't on trying to get the investment back. I think they understand it's done. It's sunk cost fallacy type deal. But if I think they are of the belief that if Deshaun Watson is 1% better than Shedeur Sanders, he should play because that's going to give them 1% chance better, one improved percent to win football games. And I think that's their entire focus. I think their mentality is wins are going to fix everything. Mm-hmm. Now, what does that actually translate to with the record? Unclear. I think Andrew Berry is probably a little bit more pragmatic, but also is sitting there from a standpoint of, yes, he's getting a lot of kudos and everything from the draft and all, and the offseason in terms of what he's been able to put together, but he needs like the things he's doing to work.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I necessarily have a great read on what he thinks about the quarterback position necessarily, other than wins help him look better in terms of the other stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably where their heads are at. They want to win football games desperately. So that's going to be the driving force for all of this. I still sit here and look at anything with Deshaun Watson as Lucy holding the football, and you're just waiting to have it pulled out from under you again. It's just a question of how it's going to manifest itself. So I have no expectations that that's going to work. My hope is that anyone else looks better that allows them to go in that direction. But we'll see. I mean, it's easy to be everything's great right now. New all this stuff. Everybody's fired up to be out there. It's not the doldrums of the late summer. He is not, we're not at a point where guys are frustrated or they've had setbacks or anything else like that. So we'll see if it sustains, but there's just nothing there. And if one of the other guys can start and play and be at least in the same realm as that guy and potentially give them something that's going to be, retainable on the roster next year, then there's an advantage to that. Deshaun Watson is gone after this year. Whatever he does, he's gone. So what does that really do for you in terms of, yes, maybe they win another football game, or if that's the calculus, even if it's proves to be true, what does that really do for you? If it's the difference between making the playoffs or not, okay, like I can listen to that. But if it's the difference between
7 wins and 5
wins, or 6-11,
yeah,
I'd rather be, I'd probably rather have a slightly higher draft pick, even though I want this group to succeed. I want them to get wins, but I'd rather not do it that way.
Well, I feel like that's the fly in the ointment for me, right? When we talk about this stuff, because I can get on board with, the guy who gives us the best chance to win. He's the guy that's going to play, right? Are we talking, like, when people say that, like, I question whether we're talking about the same guy, because the last time we saw Deshaun Watson, it wasn't that he was bad. It's that he was markedly worse than every starter in the league, and then about 6 or 7 reserves. Like it was so bad. It was historically bad. And then the second he was taken out of the lineup due to injury,
it got better immediately.
Immediate. We threw for 300 plus and 3 touchdowns against the Baltimore Ravens
the next week.
And where's Jameis Winston now? He's on another 1-year deal. Like, it's not like we had Johnny Unitas in his prime on the bench. And I love Jameis. I love the idea of Jameis. I think he's one of the most fun guys in the NFL. But when he is so much better than your guy, and you think your guy 2 years later, coming off 2 Achilles surgeries, is going to turn things around, I feel like Mugatu. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. What are people talking about? This kills me.
I think the some of the people are banking on this what I would think is a delusional idea that somehow Kevin Stefanski, who managed to get a game-winning drive out of DTR against the Steelers, managed to get multiple game-winning drives out of PJ Walker, won football games with Jacoby Brissett, got Joe Flacco off the couch to the playoffs, all these other things, was somehow making not Deshaun Watson not just bad, historically awful. 2025 was Deshaun's best season. He didn't play. That's how bad he's been. So if you want to believe this idea that Todd Monken is going to magically fix it, and yeah, like theoretically, Casey Concepcion and Denzel Boston, and obviously Deshaun has not played with Harold Fannin. Maybe that improves the situation, and having Quinshon Judkins and some of these other things will make a slight improvement. But again, in terms of average yards per pass, out of 907 quarterback seasons in this century, he was like 902.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if he goes up to 800, he's still behind Shedeur Sanders in his 1 year. So I have very little reason to believe that it's going to magically transform itself. It just doesn't work like that. And I think the Joe Flacco thing is why people are trying to suspend disbelief on this and say anything is sort of possible. And I'm sorry, I don't see it. My hope, from my standpoint, is that Shedeur Sanders or one of those guys goes, hey, it's year 2.
Yeah,
I sort of figured this thing out a little bit, and there's reason for that guy to get markedly better. We'll see. I don't have a whole lot of hope in any of these guys. The other thing that I'm sort of interested to watch is, like, part of the element with Deshaun is if Deshaun's standing next to Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel, he's going to look physically more impressive. That goes out the window when he's next to Taylor Green. Taylor Green is a giant. Taylor Green's got a huge arm. Taylor Green can run circles around Deshaun Watson. Now, whether or not he's going to be able to make all the reads and make the throws and diagnose defense and all that stuff at this point, unclear. But if you're just sitting there going, well, Deshaun Watson has all these physical tools, injuries notwithstanding, Taylor Green blows that away. And then my fear for poor Taylor Green, who I hope is viable on Sundays to be like a short yardage guy and a red zone package player, is that if none of these guys sort of look decent, that people are immediately going to go, well, just put that kid in the whole time.
Yeah, throw him in.
At least
see what he has.
At least he can run and force opponents to defend the whole field and all these other things that you can sort of cobble out in offense. That to me is a nightmare scenario, but all too often a foreseeable one. So,
well,
yeah, I mean,
let me ask you something though, just to give you a little pushback on that, because I certainly don't want to start him anytime soon. But if he, say we get to week, 14 or 15 and, they're 2-12 or whatever it is.
Let's do it.
Right. Like that. And that's my whole thing too, because I feel like players like that, as soon as they're comfortable enough that they're comfortable in the offense and everything like that, then they just have to play. Right. So if he sits for the first 12 games and he at least mentally grasps the offense and what we're looking to do and what we're trying to do, and you can simplify the playbook, then give him reps and let him build and let him grow and let him see what he can do. I mean, look, these guys, it's no different than Shedeur and Gabriel last year. This dude is on, he's on a ticker, right? The 2027 draft is going to dramatically alter his future in Cleveland unless he can put an imprint on things this year. That's just the reality of it.
Well, listen, if they get to a point where Taylor Green's starting, it's gonna blow away the Eric Mangini, Josh Cribbs last 4 games of the 2011 season. Nobody's gonna touch it. Nobody's gonna touch it. It's gonna be way better than that ever was in terms of the options they have. It's not gonna be Josh Cribbs and Jerome Harrison destroying our draft position and giving us false hopes. It's gonna be Taylor Green, who is a monster human being. You know, if he's forcing the team to play 11 on 11 football and all these guys are healthy and working, he could actually look worryingly good in terms of like he could get a whole lot of people to sort of start imagining what he could be, which would be really interesting. That's the other part is I think there's a world where Taylor Green just absolutely destroys preseason, just kills people.
And that's the thing, Pete. Let's look at a comparable athlete that was in a somewhat similar position very recently, who was drafted with Drake May, who came in and beat the Buffalo Bills in week 17 or 18 and take them out of the position for the number 1 overall pick and that trade windfall from a year ago. Joe Milton. Like you got 6'6", 230, 4.3 speed, cannon arm. That son of a bitch is tough to defend, man. I don't care if you're in the NFL, if you're playing Madden. That's a witch out there.
Yes, and what happened when Joe Milton did that? I had to listen to people try to talk me into the idea of, hey, the Browns should trade for Joe Milton and give him the starting job.
May. They don't need him.
and then he got traded for a 7th-round pick, and nobody's heard from him since.
Yeah. Yep.
Is he even still in Dallas? I assume he's still in Dallas, but like the Magic Beans thing.
That's the type of blackball you get when you cost a team the number 1 pick, Pete. he did not understand the assignment. You go out there, you hand the ball off, and you get us the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
All right. So, rookie minicamp. What can we even take away from rookie minicamp outside of getting a look at these guys and how they stack up physically, how they look next to each other, all that sort of thing?
I mean, that's certainly a big element to it.
Yeah.
You open up the package you ordered and you want to see the thing that you ordered is the thing you expected it to be. That's not a small part of this. So that part is certainly true. And then beyond that, one, they actually practice because there are a whole lot of teams who either did this thing where like, man, that offseason grind, that rookie grind is so difficult. We're going to give them these couple of days off as if like this was the time they're going to need that time off. Or, the Saints with their brand new receiver, who I'm glad the Browns didn't draft, immediately going, well, we're going to take a really precautionary element with this. Like, it would drive me nuts.
Yeah.
If that was the constant the discussion with Tyson would be, hey, we got this guy, by the way, he's not practicing because we're worried about like overdoing it and all this other stuff. Thankfully, they were able to get all their guys out there and get them to work. In terms of like what they're doing, you can watch the drills and get a sense of how they are, and you can you want them to succeed relative to the competition they're facing. You want them to stand out relative to this field of people that they're going against. I am a big proponent of the approach the Browns have taken the last 2 years, which is bringing a whole bunch of guys and have what amounts to be a real team practice. The weird way that the teams handled minicamp practices where you had like 15 guys and like one coach just terrorizing one player in drills never made any sense to me. Like, I get why you can do some individual work, but like if you could get a full group of players, why wouldn't you? And so, whether it was Stefanski last year or now Todd Monken this year, you got to have a whole lot of competition periods. I do think those have merit. I do think some of the stuff they were trying to do in terms of installs and some of the stuff they were trying to teach does have merit. But in terms of did the Browns hit on their picks? No way to say that. All we can say at this point is through rookie minicamp, none of their guys look like they completely bombed, which is good. Great. We're there. And we're not even going to really get a great answer until these guys are in pads. But in OTAs, when they've got the full group out there, if Casey Concepcion is suddenly tearing up everybody in coverage, that would probably be a pretty good indication. But still, you always have to sit there and go, we got to wait until they have pads on and this thing really gets going. But for now, up until this point, the Browns they haven't screwed it up. Great. That's step one. And, it's another class that seems really good in terms of, in front of the camera, have charisma. Like I said before the draft, people are going to love Spencer Fano. People are already in love with Spencer Fano. He's fantastic in terms of like the energy he brings. Similar with Casey Concepcion and like all the guys they brought in, it's similar to last year's class. Like they're very good at the stuff that's going to make them sort of palatable to fans. And if they can play, it's going to be all that much better. So still a ways to go. I mean, hopefully I'll be up there in a week from tomorrow to see where they're at, hopefully intermingled with that. And maybe some guys that haven't been there will be healthy enough to participate. That would be helpful. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, Spencer Fano looks like a man amongst boys in that field. Good. He should.
All right. Now, did you hear anything of note or anything of interest to you? Like, did anybody look particularly explosive or, that like Denzel Boston's size was a thing. And the one thing I heard about him is that he caught everything thrown his way, which was nice. Taylon Green, obviously he's gonna flash just because he's so big. The picture of him next to Gabriel that I saw
wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Honestly,
it was pretty bad, Pete. It wasn't very good.
It wasn't like I didn't get a situation where it was like Dylan Gabriel is doing one of these. I was worried that was what I was going to see. It was like a little kid. Look, I mean, a lot of it's confirming priors having done the tape. Like Casey Concepcion moves really, really well. Like it's very easy for him to get where he wants to go. I think Denzel Boston looks good physically in terms of like his size and stuff. However, they brought in a 6'3" corner to just follow him around. So they were, seemingly to like test him and also just for the sake of the matchup because I think they signed to Carlos Nicholson. But yeah, that was his guy he was going up against in most of his reps was a 6'3" corner. So to try to get him to work through that. And obviously, again, they don't have pads. And he said it himself, like when they get those, he's going to be way more physical and that type of stuff. But they look good moving around. They got open. Like I know Todd Monken talked about it. They didn't get the ball a ton. But like in terms of you were asking a guy to get open, he got open. Again, relative to the competition, great. But like I think those two were fine. I think the linemen all moved really, really well that they brought in. Barber, Brailford, and Fano just jump off the ball in terms of their speed and the amount of stuff the Browns are doing.
Joe Royer caught a ton of balls this weekend.
Well, not only that, I mean, he caught a decent number. The thing that I liked about with Joe Royer was he and Taylon Green seemed to have some instant chemistry. And a couple times, Taylon Green threw nice balls that were just like feathered right over the top to where Joe Royer could just pluck them out over his head, which is like probably the sweet spot right where he wants to be.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm looking at this from Taylon Green's standpoint or from the Browns standpoint, I think the Browns have to be happy with the amount of time he's able to work the middle because he can easily throw the ball outside the numbers. Like it is no problem. When he knows where he wants to go, that ball is booming out of his arm. But like whether it was Royer or Carson Ryan or some of the other guys just work in the middle of the field, he was able to find guys in that part of the field. I think that's very encouraging. I think a lot of guys, are more inclined to sort of stay outside. There's less defenders to see, less to look at, but Taylon Green was good at that. But Joe Royer, like, I don't think he stands out physically, but his little legs do work really well for him in terms of running routes and body control and getting where he wants to go on the field.
Yeah, and Willie, I agree. Dylan Gabriel and Diego Pavia having a quarterback battle somewhere would be a lot of fun.
Come on. I've never seen Dylan Gabriel look like Diego Pavia did taking that snap that was like in his chest.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. He makes Gabriel.
They should bring him in just for that.
Yeah, it wouldn't be bad. So let me ask you about Taylon Green. He's got a bit of an elongated throwing motion, right? How do you fix that? And
Well,
I mean, and how do you go about fixing that? Is that something that they got to like rework from the start? I mean, I remember the old Chris Palmer days, getting the ladder out and all that nonsense. But
I can confirm I have not seen a ladder.
that's good.
The first thing they've got to do is just quicken up his feet. However you want to throw the ball, you cannot go any faster than your feet will allow you to go. So that's gonna be step one. When he knows where he wants to go, it looks good. It comes out nice. It does all the things. But when he's got to move, he's got to adjust. That's the part he's got to get a little bit quicker at. And they're clearly they've already started working on that. They're going to try to really emphasize that. And then as far as the arm motion and some of the throws he's talking about, just shortening it, not taking the full rock back and doing the whole thing and just trying to shorten up where he's throwing from. That will take some time in terms of feel and getting used to just like what he can do from that platform and how it can work. But yeah, that would make a big difference. And the thing that would allow him to do, let's say, for example, that he is going to throw the ball amounts to be like a dart. He's just like here and going. That could be really, really useful for him on the move. In other words, roll out or attack the line of scrimmage, guys jump up, and then he can quickly dump it off to somebody. We'll see what that actually looks like. The throwing motion is really nice on those long throws where he knows where he wants to go. But yeah, getting him to go faster, getting him to read faster is going to be a big deal. Getting him to process information at a faster clip. All of those things will work in concert and make him a better player. I mean, the fact that the Browns, not that this was like some mystery, but they know what they want to accomplish. Now it's a matter of can they get it done. And the fact of the matter is that like, once they get all these guys in the camp, unless Taylor Green is taking some like packaged reps, he's probably not going to see a whole lot of time, getting reps. I don't foresee him getting reps with the ones I'm sure there's a very angered fan base saying, why isn't Taylor Green getting reps with the ones? This is only fair. I'm outraged. After last year, this is only the way it can work. But he's going to
lesson with Shador.
He's going to get a ton of individual work at that point. Mm-hmm. Obviously, some of that he's going to be watching what's going on, but he can do a lot of that in film. He can just take those reps and reps and reps and reps and just work on getting quicker and trying to improve the stuff that they want to improve mechanically. That's going to give him more ability to operate. Like the one thing that stands out so far about Taylor Green, again, it's early. Everybody's happy and loving life. Hey, I was just drafted and I'm throwing around in shorts and I look great. It's fun. But he does seem like he genuinely just feed me, give me, coach me, do all the things I want to work. So that could really work in his favor. He's got what seems like a really good attitude. Like he was asked about all these things about, all these turnovers and fumbles and all this stuff. And he took it with very he didn't like get offended or anything. With a smile on his face, to talk about he's just trying to get better and all these other things. If that is his approach, and if he can do that, okay, let's see where he is in 3 months. Let's see where he is in 13 months. Let's see what this looks like in a couple of years. The odds are certainly against him in relative to getting to be Colin Kaepernick. But if he can do it, however unlikely that is, he is one of the most dangerous players in football.
Yeah. Well, and look, at the end of the day, you can't – there's maybe a handful of guys in the NFL that have those dimensions and then plus athleticism, not let alone the elite athleticism that he has, the crazy broad jump, the crazy vertical leap, the 4.3 speed. Like, it's not just that he's a big-bodied quarterback, and those, honestly, everybody wants size with their quarterback anyway. It's a long season. You want to be able to take the pounding. You want to be able to basically like be your own sixth lineman with, like, you remember Roethlisberger, right? He was maybe the best pass protection he had because A, he was slippery, but B, he was a mountain back there. It's like you could have a clean shot on him. He would just shake you off his shoulder.
We'll never forget when the Browns clearly destroyed his leg.
Yeah.
And he came back in the second half and beat them.
Yeah.
His leg's cooked. Nope. Back. Yes. High ankle sprain. I'm fine.
First of all, Pete, go back a little bit further, right? Do you remember when our tight end wrecked his motorcycle in a parking lot?
Yeah.
And then Ben Roethlisberger, without a helmet, went head up with a Mack truck, spit out a couple teeth, and went to practice? Like, what the hell is that?
Yeah. If you ever wanted to say needed evidence the team was cursed, that was it.
Yeah, that was absolutely it. God, that still pisses me off. Oh yeah. All right, so I have a fun little game that I want to play with our rookies. Now I'm gonna give you the name of our rookie, and then I'm gonna give you two names. All right, and I'm gonna ask you to explain why this player is gonna be this type of player. And then when I give you the other name, I want you to say what could potentially cause him to be this type of player. Right? We're going to go in a couple different directions, and it's all Browns themed, right? We've got a wonderful history to draw from. So we're going to start with Spencer Fano, right? Mm-hmm. Why is Spencer Fano going to be like Joe Thomas?
If he's like Joe Thomas, it's because of his athleticism. He is a absolute freak show in terms of his movement skills, in terms of his ability to turn, work his feet, get back, take away angles. And then the other part is the give a shit factor. He's through the roof on that. Like, he's passionately wants to be the best he can be, as did Joe Thomas. Now, they're different in terms of how they operate, but they're both just enthusiastic people who seem to want to be really good at what they're doing. That's all Fano is. He looks like he blocks with a smile on his face. He looks like he has all kinds of fun as he's destroying the opponent and putting him on the ground. So, whatever you think of him physically, which was a genuine stud, the best offensive line athlete in the draft, he's taking that. And this is, why I bet on these guys, why I bet on the Joe Thomases and Myles Garrett's of the world, is they are not only supremely good athletes who were high achievers and all this other stuff. They want to be good at the thing. They're not doing this because it's out of, I'm big, I guess I have to play football. They legitimately love what they're doing. They want to be great at it. So, and the thing is, with Fano, I don't know if he can ever be as good at a pass protector as Joe Thomas was, but he could be as good, if not better, as a run blocker, because that's where he thrives. That's what he's going to be at his best doing. So, I mean, the ability's there. It's, at no point did I sit there going, man, his arms look short. Yeah. He's just like a giant human being with unbelievable athleticism. And the other part that stood out was you have to remind yourself that he had been playing right tackle, because it never looked like left tackle was anything but like, this is just what I do.
Okay. Why is he not Jedrick Wills?
Give a shit factor. I mean, that's it. I'm like, and it's unfortunate because I keep having to use Jedrick Wills as this example, but Jedrick Wills would get beat, turn around, and look like, I'll get him next time maybe. Or ain't nothing but one sack, that type of mentality, or, whatever. If you watch Spencer Fano, even when if you sit there and go, well, he wasn't very good against Texas Tech, I would dispute some of that, but nevertheless, when he got beat, he does not stop playing football. When he is a run blocker and the play is still going, he is looking for work. Jedrick Wills was a shift worker. His shift started when the play started, and it stopped when he thought his block was over. I mean, that's the difference. Is Spencer Fano plays until the echo of the whistle. He's always looking for more work. He's always looking to play with an edge. He's always trying to assert himself as a way who can help you win. The other difference is Spencer Fano wants to be a leader. No one has ever accused Jedrick Wills of wanting to be a leader or anything along those lines. Like, when the Browns picked Spencer Fano, they said, you are a culture builder and somebody we want to form the team around. Mm-hmm. That has never been something that was lobbed at Jedrick Wills. Yeah. And none of this makes him a bad person or a bad kid. There are a lot of people in the NFL who are like Jedrick Wills, who treat it like a job.
Yeah.
But like, you want guys, ideally, in anything, that don't see it that way and go, I want to be the best at this. I'm going to do everything I can to be the best at this. And that is what Spencer Fano does or brings to this team. And the other element that was not, and this is the unknown, the other element that was not Jedrick Jed Will's fault was injuries. He got racked up multiple times with his legs. Even as a rookie, when he was really good, he ended up on the season getting hurt and battling through and playing through some crap and all this stuff. And then it got worse and worse and worse in terms of injury luck until obviously he missed the whole season trying to get back from injury. That's the part that we can't control and can't unknowable. Hopefully that Spencer Fendo is just built different in terms of just his pliability and everything makes him hopefully injury resistant.
Okay. Well, let's move right on down the line. Let's go with KC Concepcion. Why is he going to be Braylon Edwards? And when I say Braylon Edwards, I don't mean a 6'3", long striding deep threat. I mean, why is he going to be a talented guy with questionable hands that's going to make it happen?
That's an interesting comparison because when you initially mentioned Braylon Edwards, I thought, well, I don't know if he's going to get a modeling contract. Look, I mean, KC Concepcion, obviously there was one clip that you saw him drop a ball. I think I saw him drop at least one more over the course of the 2 days.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. I'm not that worried about it because what I see when I watch Concepcion is the ease of movement. He gets where he wants to go on the field without much problem. He's creating separation is not an issue for him. And his ability after the catch is going to translate, in my mind, just the way he runs and the aggressiveness he has. So, and at least one point in that mini camp, he went up and caught a ball, basically jumped and leaned over a guy to catch a pass. I don't know how much everybody loved that idea of him doing it in the process, but we're pretty happy with the result after the fact. Again, it comes down to you've got a guy who wants to be great, wants to compete, wants to do all the things. And, we'll see how actions translate. I mean, I'm not a big fan of, recording your workouts to make the point that you're working out, but like he said, I'm going to be working nonstop to improve my hand thing. And then you get this like weird, dimly lit random park where he's trying to work on getting better. So we'll see. I mean, I'm super high in KC Concepcion in terms of what I think he can bring. I think he's got easily the best chance on this roster to be a true number one receiver, and change the dynamic of that room significantly in what he can do in the areas of the field he can attack. And I like the fit with Todd Monken, given what Todd Monken was able to do with Zay Flowers. And the big difference between Zay Flowers and KC Concepcion is that KC Concepcion is 2 inches taller and basically like 15 pounds heavier.
Why is he not Corey Coleman?
Well, the biggest difference is because he transferred from NC State to Texas A&M specifically for the sake of improving as a
wideout
receiver in the craft, trying to add to his route tree, try to improve in the areas that he thought he was deficient. And I'm not a big reception perception guy. I don't think that's necessarily a useful metric. However, it is at least notable that like his success rate in basically the entire tree was good. Like he could do all the things. Corey Coleman, one, was not focused on football as much as he should have been.
Yeah,
seemed to be focused on things that were on Instagram.
Dancers?
Maybe women that were on Instagram. And obviously went to an offense and a program that did not challenge him to do much. He could outdo everybody on a couple routes, and he was obviously ridiculously productive. And unfortunately, the Browns bet on that trend early, but like history has shown that like the receivers coming out of that offense have done historically badly in terms of return and figuring out. And where is that offense currently? One of the places is Tennessee, where you're not getting a whole lot of, great return on the investment, though. Like Cedric Tillman was like wildly more polished than all the other guys coming out of that. And his issues haven't been that. It's been being able to stay healthy. But like Jalen Hyatt and some of the other guys that like just they aren't very good at being receivers, and it's tough to like. Not to say it can't be done, but it's tough to do that. Get to the NFL and go, oh, by the way, you got to learn all this new stuff. Like Casey Concepcion basically said, here's where I am as a player. And obviously there's other reasons that he's not going to be Corey Coleman. One is that I know this will sound weird. It's the rushing yardage. The history of guys who have a fair amount of rushing. Am I still here? Anyway, there's a number of guys who have produced a bunch of rushing yardage in addition to being receiving threats, and they've translated a really high rate. So that's another element. And then the last thing is, maybe I'm wrong. Did Corey Coleman ever return anything?
Kicks?
Punts, kicks, anything?
I don't think so.
Well,
I mean, he's not in Cleveland.
The other element that works in favor for Casey Concepcion is that he's been a dynamic punt returner, returning 2 to the house. Again, I am legitimately blown away by how good he was as a punt returner against LSU. He returned like 3 punts, and like all 3 had a shot to go, and like LSU was praying to get him on the ground.
All right. Well, let's go to receiver number 2. Let's go Denzel Boston. Why is Denzel Boston going to be Josh Gordon?
He's not. Next.
Why is he going to be Quincy Morgan?
So, look, I think blocking is going to be a big element for him. Look, my whole thing with Denzel Boston is I think I'm trying to be very reasonable in terms of expectations, in terms of what he can bring in terms of yardage. Based on how the Browns have sort of set this thing up, he might be their 4th option in the passing game. Like, that doesn't suggest a ton of receiving yardage as a rookie. It just doesn't. Now, I would love nothing more than, hey, there's 4 guys who can all do stuff and they're all producing a decent amount. But like Denzel Boston didn't produce a ton of yards in college. That's really not his game. Yeah. But if he can find a role as a guy who is just a reliable chain mover, who then is really good in the red zone, like, boom, job done. Like, great. Obviously, one of the reasons he's not like Quincy Morgan is because he's got really good hands. He's caught a ton of balls. He's also been a pretty good contested catch threat. I think he's got more understanding of how to sell and run routes. I think there are still questions he needs to answer in terms of beating press and coming up with some answers with that. But yeah, I mean, Quincy Morgan, when your lead descriptor is, well, he's a good blocker at wide receiver, that's probably not a good place to be. That was never my impression with Boston. It is something he can do. I think the Browns are going to take full advantage of it, but I don't worry about it. But I do think people need to be reasonable in terms of expectations. And I worry that we could see a situation where, he doesn't have like a big game until like maybe he gets 70 yards in the contest at some point, and then people are saying, well, why did we draft this guy 39th overall? He's not doing much. And it's because they've got what they hope is a 4-headed monster in terms of weaponry with Concepcion and Judy and Harold Fannin. Like, you're coming into a situation where Judy was productive in 2024, and Todd Monken has already declared that he's going to get him back to being 2024 good. And I have reason to believe that's going to happen so long as the quarterback plays decent. Harold Fannin theoretically could have a sophomore slump, but if he's just the same as he was last year, he's going to be really good, and they're going to want to feed him. So if you are Concepcion, you are trying to prove that you're that guy and can play opposite and hopefully ultimately surpass Judy. But if you're Boston, all of a sudden you sit there and go, well, where do I fit into this thing? For starters, he's got beat out Tillman. But after that, suddenly you are option 4, and there may be packages where you're off the field if they want to put somebody like Isaiah Bond on the field. Yeah. To really stretch the thing. But based on what I saw of Boston in minicamp, I kind of liked how he was moving in terms of being able to be a guy who can demand enough attention that it could create space for his teammates. There was a lot of Boston running deep and then Casey Concepcion being sort of shorter. I think you'll see plenty of the inverse as well. I'm very excited to see how those four guys on the field at the same time is going to look in terms of how they attack spacing, how they put pressure on defenses. But like, I'm trying to be as reasonable as I can be with Denzel Boston, where he's going to contribute, and you're going to sit there and go, "Oh man, nice play by Denzel Boston, kept the drive going," or "Hey, there's Denzel Boston catching a touchdown." But I think his production might be more commensurate with what you'd sort of expect as a tight end, rather than necessarily a true X receiver, at least start.
Well, you think about it too. The one thing that he brings to the table is great hands, but that big body, the ability to box guys out, the ability to, be like a high point situation down in the red zone. Like, I like that because we don't really have, like, Tillman's a bigger receiver, but we've seen Tillman have some really nice games.
He's not a go up and get it guy.
He's not a high point guy.
Use his body. He can use his body, but he's never been a high point guy. Now, here's the thing. I don't want Denzel Boston to high point it unless it's a slot fade in the middle of the field. I want him to torture people because he can sell slant and then run whip.
Yeah.
His whip is nasty. And those are easy touchdowns. Like, in terms of success rate.
When you say whip, that's the hard inside but immediate straight out, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That is, if you just look at historical success rates, like they've done stuff on this, like NFL Films did a whole thing on this, talking about the slot fade, because it's just this weirdly bad success rate play, unless you've got a guy who's great at it. And I'm not to say Denzel Boston's bad, or he might be good at it, but like, just in terms of a calculation, it's not great. Whereas the whip is like the play, and he's really good at it. And if you've got corners who are legitimately worried, because he can run the heck out of a slant too, or a snag route. If he can get those guys guessing on which way he's going to go, like, you're going to create easy opportunities for a guy like that. Not to mention, you've got what I hope is going to be a role for Joe Royer, where he can be a big body tight end who catches balls in the end zone. Like, he plays like a power forward from that standpoint.
Well, the thing is too, that we're talking about all these guys, but this is their rookie season. This is going to be the worst we see them at football for the rest of their careers. I mean, sure, the numbers are going to fluctuate. They always do, right? Injuries are going to come and go, stuff like that. But in terms of knowledge of the game, preparedness, and like ability, and like fleshed out ability, like developed ability, like, these guys are going to get so much better over the course of this season and the oncoming seasons. That's like what you're saying about, but I don't care about anything he can't do this year. It's the worst he's going to be. This is going to be the deepest he is in the deep end mentally, trying to get up to the speed of the game, trying to learn the nuances of the offense and everything like that. They've got to learn a different language. They're going to have the most competitive, like fighting every single snap of his life in the NFL. You need to be so in tune with your technique, with all that stuff. Like, these guys they're rookies. Like, this is the worst they're going to be. So, like, if there's stuff that they're not great at, that's fine. That's expected, right? Like, isn't that
the benefit that they have is that the Browns have real things in place, and they are not being asked to. You're not asking Casey Concepcion and Denzel Boston to come in and go save our offense. You are saying, hey, Jerry Jeudy's a good NFL receiver. Harold Fann's a really good tight end. You've got roles to fill, and so long as you fulfill these roles we have for you, we're going to be successful, because that means we have 4 viable weapons, and that's not including what Quinshon Judkins can offer you out of the backfield as a pass catcher, or what you can get out of Dylan Sampson as a pass catcher out of the backfield. Like, that's not even getting to those auxiliary pieces, or Malachi Corley or Isaiah Bond, who are also going to have likely just roles within the offense. I think that's the part that gives me the most optimism as far as this is. You're not sitting there going, and Todd Monken has already said, like, as far as those two, you're basically going to give them 2 positions to learn, and that's it, which is not a small undertaking, but like, that gives you an idea of what this is going to allow them to do. They can junk up formations. They can do a whole lot of things, but ultimately they're performing a specific role. If they can work to master that role, they're going to contribute and make everything better. And then hopefully those other guys Judy and Fannin and Judkins and Dylan Sampson and Isaiah Bond and Malachi Corley are going to then allow those guys to shine and function really well in their roles. If you're a defense and you've got to cover all these guys, if just doing your job is going to get you open and an opportunity to make plays, great. That means the Browns are in a good spot.
Yeah. No, and look, I mean, you know I'm a fan of Isaiah Bond. I've always liked what Tillman's capable of, but I mean, you nailed it, right? You're bringing in Concepcion, you're bringing in Denzel Boston, and you're saying, hey, we think you're better than these guys ahead of you, but we're also not completely lost if we have to play Isaiah Bond and Cedric Tillman with Jerry Jeudy and Harold Fannin and stuff like that. I think our wide receiver room needed to get better, but I also think that it was I don't think anybody looked worse last year because of other factors than the wide receiver room. Like they couldn't get anything consistent from the quarterbacks. The quarterbacks couldn't get anything consistent from the offensive line. So the running game suffered. And then the wide receivers are stuck in a phone booth trying to get free of NFL coverage in under 3 seconds. Like that's not going to happen.
Well, listen, if it goes the way it could, the Browns can sign Phillip Rivers. He's going to be able to move the ball. There's just that many things. And if you have a quarterback who knows what they're doing and throwing on time, you're going to move the ball. Now, I'm not advocating that they bring in 45-year-old Phillip Rivers. I don't want to see a man die on the field.
No,
but
it'd be fun.
But if Mungan is right in what he thinks he can do, and there's reason to believe he can, obviously the offensive line is going to be a huge element with this.
Yeah.
But so long as you are a reasonably smart quarterback that understands how a thing's supposed to work, you're going to have plays to make. And it's just a matter of being your eyes are in the right place at the right time. The ball is out at the right place and hitting the guy where it's supposed to. If you do that, I think that whoever is at quarterback will be successful to some extent. Okay.
Well, let's keep bouncing on down the list with our rookies and our comparisons. Why is Emmanuel McNeil-Warren going to be like Grant Delpit?
See, this somebody in my mentions, I said something positive and immediately said, is he more like Kyle Hamilton or dude from the Chargers? I'm just like, what? What? Where? He's been here for 5 minutes and he's already one of these great.
Is he the best safety in football, or is he the second best? Where does he fall?
Yeah, I mean, so much is going to be dependent on what they're going to use him to do. I was really encouraged. He had a really good second minicamp day. And I think part of that was because the install they did for the second minicamp was stuff that he's done a whole lot of, a lot more too high, a lot of him dropping back and be able to play certain things away. I think he's familiar. Ultimately, I want him to be a robber all the time, or just patrolling the middle of the field, not as a free safety, but as a guy who can just look around and make plays on the ball as much as possible, because I think that's where he's going to be at his best. As a guy who can attack the football, try to make picks. That's why you got him here. A guy who can punch out the ball and fumbles, all that stuff. So much is going to be dependent on what they're asking him to do, but he did not look out of place. The size does stand out, even though that rookie picture absolutely was criminal in how it made him look short among a group that included nearly 6'7" Austin Barber, Taylon Green, Denzel Boston, and Spencer Fano. And then you got Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, who's practically 6'3", looking like a dwarf comparatively. He is aggressive. He's physical. I'll be curious to see what happens when he gets pads on and some of those things. But he was around the football, made a couple plays on the ball that were positive. So much with him is going to be about vision for him. But Grant Delpit is his college profile is nowhere near as good as Grant Delpit. Let's get that out of the way. Grant Delpit's profile was unbelievable coming out of LSU. Yeah. But in terms of the stuff that Emmanuel McNeil-Warren does, it is eerily similar to some of the stuff you saw Grant Delpit do at LSU, which I'm curious to see how they sort of pair those two up. So I like his playmaking ability. I like his instincts. Can he, I'm curious to see what they're going to do in terms of his weight. If they're going to ask him to put on a little weight, he certainly didn't look like it. He's, again, practically 6'3", and at the combine, he was 203 pounds, and at pro day, he was 213. Yeah. Didn't look like 213 at the Browns thing. So I'll be curious to know where they want him. in that regard. But like, I would love a world in which he and Grant Delpit are able to just patrol the middle of the field and just hurt people's feelings and take the ball away, and then put Ronnie Hickman as potentially a slot role. But they've said at least they want to get Manny McNeil-Warren comfortable in one spot and then worry about all the other stuff. I'm curious to see how quickly he can do that. But man, he's really interesting. I can't wait to see what he looks like when he's like the 8th best player on defense or the 9th best player on defense. He's surrounded by all these guys, and all of a sudden you get to go, hey, just be a playmaker and do stuff, as opposed to you can be aggressive, but be aware of the fact that if you miss, there's probably no one else to do it. So there's some development that needs to be done there, but I think I like what he can offer. The biggest challenge facing Emmanuel McNeil-Warren is, even in the role I sort of envision for him, it comes down to opportunities.
Yeah.
He can only make the most of opportunities. If guys don't throw the ball near him or in a position where he can make plays, then he's sort of limited in what he can do. Could he I'm not saying he could have an Anthony Henry like 10 interception season. And by the way, how is that guy not defensive rookie of the year? Trade a new contract. What are you talking?
Just to jump on that one, I don't think he's hoping for a trade. I think they're going to extend him. I think they would like to extend him. I think they want to keep him in fold. I mean, he's not the only safety that's starting for us that's on a 1-year deal. Hickman's the same deal, you know. So I don't think he's looking for a trade, and I don't think they're looking to move on from him.
No,
I mean,
all Grant Delpit's focused on is give me a new contract, and the fact is, I think the Browns will give it to him. And one of the reasons they'll give it to him is because Manny McNeil-Warren is making peanuts for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you can extend him, have him entirely paid off, and if McNeil-Warren is successful, you let Grant Delpit go at what would be like 33 at that point, and or earlier, depending on how you structure the contract. And Manny McNeil-Warren is ready to take on a contract extension and get the big money. Like, this is the part that I think people don't understand. They sit here and go, well, the Browns just drafted safety. They must want to get rid of this. But that the fact that they got a Manny McNeil-Warren where they got him, I don't know, the contract. Let me look up something. Who's the 58th?
What, the Delpit deal?
No.
The
58th pick of the – okay, so let's look at Jack Beck contract. 4 years, $7.56 million, last year at 56th pick. Less than $2 million a year, that's stealing. So it allows you to now go, hey, Grant, we're going to pay you a whole lot of money to stick around and be the dude that you've been here. Like, there's absolutely no reason for them to want to trade him at that point. Grant Delpit should be sitting there high-fiving Emmanuel McNeil-Warren going, you're a big reason why they get to pay me, because they don't have to go out and go get somebody else. Yeah. I can get paid, and they can build this thing up. And if Ronnie Hickman's successful, great, they can extend him. It's not going to cost them an arm and a leg to keep him. And if not, they can go out and get another safety. But, like, that's the beautiful thing about getting McNeil-Warren at 58th pick. His contract is going to be, like, less than $8 million for 4 years. Great.
Well, in Bah Humdinger's defense, I mean, he brings up a good point. He thinks he's a candidate because he's got a high contract, his age, the history of the torn Achilles. But the torn Achilles happened when he was a rookie, so that's kind of out the window. And my thing is, Humdinger, this is the second draft pick Andrew Berry made. He's an Andrew Berry guy. We've already extended him once. He's the leader of the defense. They absolutely love him. The defense has thrived ever since. I mean, he's come back. Even, his second year in 2021, he started flashing almost immediately. Like, he's been a player from day one. And I've always wondered what that team would have looked like in 2020 if he didn't tear his Achilles in the offseason. Yeah, who was Sendai? Who is the
Andrew Sendejo?
Yeah, imagine if we had Grant Delpit back there against the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. Like I think about that all the time. I mean, I get what you're saying, and I like Delpit. I think he's good, but the contract, the Achilles, all that stuff. But I think he's an Andrew Berry guy. He's playing at such a high level right now. I just think he's too important to the locker room. I think they'll definitely extend him.
I hate when people do the thing where they go, I know what Grant Delpit wants. He wants to leave because of A, B, and C. Like, let Grant Delpit decide what Grant Delpit wants to do. If Grant Delpit comes out tomorrow and goes, "Hey, I want to be here forever," are you going to sit here and go, "No, they should trade him"?
Are you telling people to not speculate, Pete? You can't tell people not to speculate. Come on.
It's silly. Like there has never been a guy. Grant Delpit has never been I think Grant Delpit said last year he wanted to stay. He has been a Cleveland Brown through and through. And the last thing you want to do if you're Grant Delpit or some of these other guys, and we'll see if it trickles down to Myles Garrett, is you sit there and you go, wow, there are a lot of guys on this team that are really good on a really good historic, what has been a really, really good defense. You think I want to leave the great defense it's making me famous and getting me all this pub and all these other things? I'm getting paid?
Just to play devil's advocate, homie, he didn't show up to OTAs, even though they were, optional or whatever. And he was definitely very vocal. He was very vocal about Jim Schwartz, too. I don't think it's outlandish to question it. I agree with you, and I don't think they'll get rid of him. I think he wants to re-sign. I think they will re-sign him. But if you're on the outside looking in, they drafted a safety in round 2. I'm just saying, there's enough writing on the wall that asking the question's reasonable. I don't think you're
Grant
Delpit on your shoulder reaching for reasons.
Grant Delpit was one of the guys who was mad that they fired Kevin Stefanski. So yes, he was ultimately also mad that they got rid of or that Jim Schwartz got rid of himself at that point.
Yeah,
but
he did.
What did they do? They kept all of his dudes, all the assistant coach. I don't know if anybody listened to Carson Schlesinger talk to Chris Long on his podcast, which is really good. Yeah. But he's like, they're all fired up that all those guys are back. Yeah, they're kind of bummed that Schwartz isn't here, but they're sitting going, all the assistants are back, and they get Rutenberg and what he wants to do on defense. It's a great defense. There's Denzel Ward is not sitting here going, oh man, I can't wait to get out of here. None of these guys are doing that. The only one who's done
nobody in our secondary should want to leave Cleveland. When you got that front, yeah.
If you go back to Grant Delpit talking about last year, you will find him talking about the defensive line made us so much better. The defensive line was a bunch of dudes that made us all look really good. Yep. He's not in a hurry to run away from that. It's again, you want to speculate, go nuts. But this is where I get off and go, let Grant Delpit manage Grant Delpit's own career. Stop putting thoughts out there that, Grant Delpit wants this because I say so.
Yeah. Well, either way, let's move on. Let's go Austin Barber, Pete. Why is Austin Barber going to be Mitchell Schwartz?
Well, if he's able to, I mean, the biggest thing that works for Austin Barber to me is his run blocking. I think another guy who I think attitude and effort and all that stuff is going to allow him to sort of play above what he's physically capable of doing. I think he's got a lot of physical ability. The big question is, how is he going to hold up power wise? We'll see when the pads come on and guys are trying to go after him after watching Ruben Bain sort of, do some work against him. But the attitude, the effort, the way he sort of rolls with the punches and gets up and goes back for more reps, played through pain. I really like Austin Barber. He's a prick in the best ways possible. I think he's really interesting from that standpoint. And, obviously the Charles Bentley comparison was Ryan Tucker. Ryan Tucker got beat occasionally, but he got back up there and went and worked hard in the run game and did his best. I think with Austin Barber, he's going to get beat at times. Welcome to it.
Everybody gets beat. It's the NFL.
But I think what he's going to ultimately be able to do, hopefully, is prove that his run blocking is such an asset that you're not you're going to be able to overlook some of those things and be happy with what he's doing. That's my big issue potentially with a guy like Titus Howard is there's just not much of a run blocker there. So it's all pass protection. And I think when you adjust that dial and get a whole lot more run blocking, you're going to be sort of happy with what you can do. Austin Barber's athleticism pops. He thrilled to be in another system that allows him to do a whole lot of movement. So I am bullish on him. It just really comes down to can he deal with the power in the NFL game, and can he sort of figure out some answers to the stuff that gave him trouble in college?
Why is he not going to be Austin Corbett? Because you remember when we took Corbett in 2018, there was even some rumblings early on that he could play tackle. And there was a little bit of speculation on that. Joe Thomas had retired. We didn't really make any moves. I want to say we tried to sign the kid that wound up going from New York to Dallas. Who was that left tackle? Maybe Notre Dame? Do you remember who I'm talking about here?
That wasn't Pugh, was it?
Who's that?
It wasn't Justin Pugh, was it?
No, he was a Syracuse kid. Oh, man, what was his name? He definitely played for the Cowboys or the Patriots.
Wow. Just running all the teams.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think Austin Barber is a tackle. Just that was the issue. I don't think Austin Corbett was ever going to be a tackle. And I hated the plan that the Browns had for Austin Corbett, where they did the thing where they go, hey, we're going to try you at this and then move you here and then move you here and then move you here. And it didn't work. And, this was life with John Dorsey, who would just throw crap at the wall and then get frustrated and throw guys away when they didn't do what he wanted. So he traded him for practically nothing. Then he goes on to be successful with the Rams and signed a big contract with Carolina as a free agent. And no, he's never really a star, but he was a solid lineman. I think the plan for what the Browns intend to do with Barber is more logical. They think he's a tackle. They know they understand he's going to have to cross-train at guard for the sake of depth, because they may need him potentially in a pinch to do that. But I think the vision there is the right one in terms of they're not asking to, they're not like saying, hey, we're going to let you be a tackle till you fail. And then, by the way, you might end up at center and all these other convoluted things. Like, I think the focus for Barber is going to be for tackle. Yes, he's going to have to do some repping at guard, but my hope, I think, is that the Browns find something else they can play guard and that they eliminate that as a necessity. But, still, I'm not terribly worried about that as a huge deal. And then the other part is, with Corbett, the expectation was he was going to come in and start right away.
Yeah.
Because he was a second-round pick, 33rd overall or whatever it was. That's not the expectation with Barber. He is being brought in specifically with the intent of developing him. Now, could there be a situation where injury forces him out of the field? There absolutely could. That would not be great, but that is life in the NFL. But in terms of at least how they plan this thing out, he's being brought in to be a backup swing tackle, predominantly right tackle, and then cross-train at guard. That should give him the necessary sort of runway to figure this thing out. And if he's going to be good, that does not worry me the way that just everything they did with Corbett was just silly to me.
Well, back to what I was talking about. It was I was confused. It was Nate Soldier, all right, and he went to Colorado, not Notre Dame. I was thinking Golden Helmet, and that threw me off. But yeah, I remember when it was kind of like the dead giveaway that Joe Thomas was retiring, because they went hard at Nate Soldier in free agency that year, but he ultimately didn't sign. Okay, so Parker Brailsford. And, this game gets a little iffy when you get to the fifth round plus, but I'm still going to go with it just because it's fun. So why not? Why is Parker Brailsford going to be Alex Mack?
Is that positive or negative?
It's positive.
Because I've literally heard people say, which is just crazy to me. Not even Alex Mack. No, sorry, it wasn't Alex Mack. It was people who are like, he's the next Joe Fain. And I'm sitting here going, Jeff
no
Fain.
Fain, no gain? You're talking about Jeff Fain?
Jeff Fain. And I'm just sitting there. So wait a minute. The Browns are going to get 4 years of starting center. I was just like, okay, sign me up. But there are people who are like, this is bad. He's not. I don't know that Alex Mack is in the cards. But he is very strong in terms of what he was able to do in the weight room. He was number 20 on Bruce Feldman's freak list this past year, put up some crazy numbers like 500-pound bench press. I think he had like a 675-pound squat and some other crazy numbers, and then
Well,
had a miles per hour thing near 20 at, watching that little Hamlet run around that fast is pretty impressive.
well, let me rephrase real quick, just because he's a 5th-round pick. Instead of why is he going to be Alex Mack, why isn't he going to be Nick Harris?
Well, the biggest difference between those two right off the bat is he is a decidedly better athlete. Just not even close. Like, his broad jump was over a foot longer than Harris. Harris was like 8'7" or something like that, and Brailsford was like 9'10". He did it at a lighter weight than Harris slightly, but it wasn't a huge. It's not a huge difference, but it's enough that like you have to at least note it. He had 27 reps on the bench press versus 20. I'm not a big bench press guy, other than it's a threshold exercise. Nevertheless, 7 reps is notable. Vertical, broad jump, all that stuff. Like, Parker Brailsford was very, very good, noticeably powerful. So that's the biggest difference. Like, he's just a better athlete, and athletics requires athleticism. Nick Harris has a ton of it. So that is the big compelling reason that he's just stronger, better athlete than Nick Harris was.
So we're gonna go back to this one in a second. I want to do this real fast because I hadn't heard about this. Is this true? Did he have his knee scoped recently?
Who?
KC.
Yes, Casey Concepcion had a knee scope right before the draft. A cleanup procedure done by, I believe, the Dallas Cowboys team doctor. But he's fine.
He's already on the field.
The Browns held him, like, were precautionary in a couple periods while they were doing special teams, and then he did everything else. So, like, he's full go.
All right, now back to this one, because I find this one interesting. Like, to me, this goes to Stefanski. Like, Gabriel was Stefanski's guy, right? And that's kind of like at the back end of the draft. It's like, because it fell that way, Barry got his guy in Shedeur, right? Isn't that kind of the general consensus?
I never bought into the idea of that Shedeur was Barry's guy. I do think Dillon Gabriel was absolutely Kevin's pick.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily mean like his guy, like, oh, we're going to go forward with this, but just
I looked at it entirely as, I think the Browns thought the same thing we did. Jimmy Haslam came out and admitted it. Like, when we left day 2, I figured Shedeur Sanders could be one of the first like 3 or 4 or 5 picks in the 4th round, and it was going to be done. I think the Browns did too, and then he was still sitting there in round 5, and they basically just went, "Why is this guy? Why not at this point? Let's take the swing and go for it." Look, I mean, the thing with quarterback, and again, let me be clear, I thought I rated Dillon Gabriel as a day 3 prospect based on size and age as predominant factors. But quarterback is an eye of the beholder thing in terms of what do you believe about these guys. Now, Dillon Gabriel's resume is outstanding.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Dillon Gabriel's resume is infinite. Like, people are trying to tell me that Garrett Nussmeier was better than Dillon Gabriel. And I'm just sitting there going, based on what? Dillon Gabriel had an infinitely better college career. Dillon Gabriel had an infinitely better college career than basically like everybody in this draft. You could have easily made a case that he was QB3. And again, that I still would have viewed him as a D3 guy for the reasons I listed. But like, if Dillon Gabriel was in this draft, he would have gone significantly earlier or relative to the field. May have been the same range, but significantly. I wouldn't have done it. I didn't like it when it was done. I'm not sitting here like going, man, I hate Dillon Gabriel. I want to see what he can do. But like, if you're asking what happened, it's Kevin Stefanski had a guy he liked. He had a number of guys he liked. I know who some of them were. And ultimately, when the time came and they said, well, okay, we're making our quarterback pick, he said, I want that guy, and they picked him. And you were hoping he was gonna be able to hit the ground faster based on his experience and everything else. But the supporting cast was that bad, as illustrated by Joe Flacco, that it was just a no-win situation. Obviously, he didn't acquit himself well relative to that.
Yeah, but that wasn't his fault. I mean, look, I've been as critical of Dillon Gabriel as anybody, but it's simply from a big picture perspective. I just say again, I've said it a million times. I don't like going cheap on physical ability at the most important position in sports. Like I just like that's my problem with it. But if you look at him as a player, just a size, speed, all that stuff, he's exceptional at playing the position. He is. Like you can't not be. You can't be, 5'10", 190 pounds and play quarterback in the NFL without being absolutely exceptional. There's just limitations.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, yeah, obviously the flip side of that is you get guys with tools who can't play dead. They can't figure it out. So they took a swing. I didn't like where they took the swing, but I understood the swing. And ultimately I wanted Kevin Stefanski to take the guy he wanted to take. Now, I doubt he was sitting there waiting till round 3 to want to take it, but nevertheless, that's what happened. Listen, I will say this. If you needed evidence that Kevin Stefanski was a patsy last season, look what the Browns have done this offseason. They've brought in no less than 11 new guys on offense.
Yeah.
No less than 11 new guys on offense. Like, whatever you want to say about Kevin Stefanski, he's clearly put in a terrible situation relative to, hey, make the offense work. And the Browns basically flat out admitted it wasn't going to work. Now, they made the move. They've done it. Todd Monken's in here. Well, hopefully he's successful. I like certain things he's doing. I'm encouraged by what he wants to do offensively. But, like, if you're sitting here going, Kevin Stefanski stinks because he couldn't make an offense work with what he had last year, I think and therefore I think the Atlanta Falcons are going to stink. I think you're in for a rude awakening.
Yeah. How about this one? How about Elijah Chapman? He seems a little more in the mold of a Aiden Huntington, right? It's about 280 pounds.
Mm-hmm. My initial reaction to this was when they claimed him, and I don't know, did they make a corresponding move yet?
I didn't see.
Because the guy that I thought they were basically going to dump him for was the undrafted free agent they got out of LSU. They are the exact same size.
Yeah. Well, I know they waived they cut Canella, right? They cut Sal Canella,
that was when they cut in Coates.
Yeah.
I don't think that I don't know that a corresponding move has been made, and there may be others if they liked what they saw from tryout players, Aaron Anderson. That you could see some corresponding moves in that, but they haven't done the whole here's a bunch of moves we're going to make. So I don't know when that's going to happen, but like the guy that jumped out to me immediately when they brought in Chapman was the kid from LSU whose name escapes me because when this happened, that dude had walked off with a trainer the day before. He came back and participated the next day. But I thought at the time, oh, well, they claim this guy, this dude left injured. They're just going to make that move. That may still be what happens, but that's the size, speed element type thing. And frankly, I think given what I've seen, I would also lump Tyreek Sapp into that mix of that type of guy because Tyreek Sapp played in the 3 a lot.
Did he? Well, he's only listed. He's another like shorter guy. He's only 6'2", but he's like 270, right? 273, somewhere around there.
He's a big, strong kid. Yes.
Yeah.
They put him inside a lot.
Okay.
Like right now, to me, unless there's another move coming, Logan Fano seems to be competing against guy not on roster for that edge spot right now. It seems like it might be his for the taking, so long as he doesn't like get hurt or do something that makes them go, oh, we got to bring in somebody else. But like, there's nobody else that you sit there and go, this guy's a shot at the edge. The only thing that could change that would be if like they go, Aiden Huntington, we're putting you back on the edge.
Yeah.
Maybe that's maybe that's the process. But like right now, Tyreek Sapp is effectively playing big end with a whole lot of time spent inside.
Are you surprised that they haven't? Because I mean, we talked about it a bunch. We both really liked to mock our Mason Thomas in the second round. Like, are you surprised that they didn't go with like a quick, pure speed edge rusher at any point this offseason?
I am. Obviously, they didn't find the right fit, and that's welcome to it. This is life. I mean, I'm happy with what they did, and certainly there were guys at various spots I would have picked, Harold Perkins Jr. But we'll see. I mean, they may still try to make a move and try to add somebody else. Please don't try to tell me it's going to be Bosa. It's not going to be Bosa. Or something along those lines. And the other option is, hey, Quincy Williams is a really good blitzer. Hey, Justin Jefferson theoretically is a guy who can blitz. Hey, we've got a bunch of DBs that maybe they'll blitz off the edge, and maybe that's a way for them to sort of utilize speed in a different capacity. But like heading into next year, defensive end is going to be one of the things I'm prioritizing along with right guard and corner and quarterback and wide tight end.
So, Pete, if you don't mind, I'm going to take this one. Phil, the reason he played is because everybody else on the roster was a rookie who they did not trust in pass protection. And that was so important. That was such an emphasis because they had the worst offensive line in football. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that everybody had the same frustrations. We want to see the younger, more explosive, more impactful guys in the running game getting the ball and getting reps. But Jerome Ford was the only veteran they had. He was the only guy that Stefanski trusted in pass pro. Like, I get it, but that's pretty important. Like, it really is.
Especially the way they were blocking up front.
Yeah. Like that's the whole thing. You know, it's one thing if, you know, you've got the best line in football, but we had literally the opposite of that. So we needed help in every spot we could get in terms of pass pro. And Dylan Sampson, how many times did we see there were multiple clips last year of him just getting destroyed trying to, I mean, you know, it was a hot knife through butter for that poor kid, you know. But that's the thing. He was young and he was undersized.
That is one of the elements that I am eager to see play out. If the line is better, they won't need as much running back blocking in pass protection. They can use those guys as receivers. And then two, they bring in a guy like Carson Ryan, who I think is going to take a lot of wing chip release type pass protection roles that may also allow them to utilize a guy like Dylan Sampson in the passing game more. If they get just better pass protection from the five guys up front, if they are a better run team and makes them less predictable, that should help. But like Carson Ryan, that is going to be one of the things he's tasked with. Whether or not he's up to it is a question, but like that is clearly one of the main reasons he's here is because he can help in that and be a very reliable pass catcher out of the backfield in sort of being a safety net type guy.
All right. Well, you brought up Justin Jefferson a second ago. Why is he going to be Mack Wilson?
Justin Jefferson? Mm-hmm. Because he has no idea how to play linebacker. Done. And that's you watch Justin Jefferson.
You never liked Mack Wilson. I like Mack Wilson. He's had a nice little career, man.
Yes, as a special teams player, he's been very good. He's never
been solid as a starter.
Never been good at linebacker. Every team that is I respect the hell out of Mack Wilson, who blocked me a long time ago, and I deserved it. And I deserved it. He has carved out a hell of a career.
Yes.
He is the prototypical guy that would have benefited from a world in NIL because he did not want to leave college, but he had to. Yeah. He was a guy who declared for hardship. Had NIL existed, he would have stayed in college and hopefully gotten better at linebacker. He was never good at linebacker. He couldn't read shit and was constantly in the wrong place. That has never changed. He's been a bad linebacker. He's been a very good player in terms of being able to carve himself out a real role on special teams. But every team that has gotten him to play real linebacker reps is sitting there going, we need to upgrade linebacker. That is it. Now,
Arizona hasn't messed with him. Arizona's been letting him rock, man.
Arizona has needs at linebacker right now.
But they haven't addressed it. They could have taken Arvell Reese. They could have taken Sonny Styles.
They could have. And now they're sitting there going, we are going to get a quarterback. Anyway.
we're gonna lose 40-39 every Sunday.
Justin Jefferson, I don't know that he processes information badly. I think he can see it a little bit. Mm-hmm. The problem is he probes everything. He feels out. He does this sort of stuff when he has to deal with a whole lot of contact. He doesn't have a good sense of how to get through. He takes bad angles and will sort of like take himself out of plays because he doesn't want to engage. He wants to keep himself free so he can try to stay alive. And at times it actually makes the situation worse and like opens up running lanes by virtue of doing that. at times when a lane opens up big enough, he can exploit it, but it's got to be a big lane. Now, he is uncannily good in terms of run and chase. Like his ability to not only run fast, but run fast and like handle curves and all this other stuff is really, really good. And he could be a really good spy. Teams don't really use those anymore, like in that same traditional spy role, the way like the Browns did with what was it, Leon Williams against Michael Vick. But if you are putting, if Justin Jefferson's out there, and I don't know how likely this is going to be, but Justin Jefferson could absolutely be a player where you put him out on the field, and if a quarterback rolls out, he hawk blitzes and immediately he's going, I'm on it, and goes and chases him down. Because like the area that stood out, one of the areas that stood out with Justin Jefferson on tape was like South Carolina and Vanderbilt, where he just went and tracked down the quarterback like a heat-seeking missile and just took them out. You could see a world in which he can do some of those things against some athletic quarterbacks. He is not bad in coverage as well, but as a run defender, it's not good at this point. And he's small. Like, he looks like a DB. Now, that may be fine for what they want him to do. If he's going to be a special teams scheme like Mac Wilson, great. Like,
yeah,
if he can give you that, that's going to be a huge element to that. But like, it's really difficult for me to see a world in which he's a fully formed linebacker. I think that you've got two guys who have gotten really good linebacker play out of guys who weren't really linebackers in Mike Rutenberg and Tarver, who sit there and go, man, this guy's really athletic. We can make him figure it out. So I suspect in some ways there's elements of JOK that Tarver sees in Jefferson, and I suspect that Rutenberg goes, Quincy Williams was a safety coming out of college, and I managed to make that work. He may have the same thought process in terms of trying to eventually make a guy like Jefferson into that. I think that's probably a longer term vision, but I'm here for it if he wants to be surprised. He's certainly vocal on the field and does a lot of things that coaches are going to like.
Yeah,
but the probing is going to be a problem.
Well, let me ask you this. So, I mean, we're obviously set with Carson and Quincy, but that third linebacker spot is, and look, I know everybody's base defense now is basically a 2 linebacker, 5 defensive back base defense. Like, that's just the way the NFL has gone, right? So we're not going to see a ton of 3 linebacker formations, but when we do, is it going to be Nathaniel Watson? Is it going to be Winston Reed? Is it going to be Justin Jefferson? Like, I'm intrigued by that little battle.
Well, I mean, if the answer is Justin Jefferson, it might as well be a safety.
Yeah,
because they're the same size. So from that standpoint, that seems unlikely. Not to say it can't happen because he's really athletic, but like in terms of usage, in terms of the things you're going to ask him to do, I would think you're better off just saying, hey, we're going to bring a third safety on the field. So Boogie Watson, where is that at? They were very positive. They were very encouraged by what they saw from him. He looked good in preseason and stuff like that last year, and they got hurt. Is he able to come back?
What did he do? He tear his bicep? What did he do? I don't remember.
I don't remember. I don't think it was upper body. I think it was lower body. I think it was something in his leg. But nevertheless, that was an option. Winston Reed was supposed to be a hammer. Can he do that?
I like Winston Reed. He's nice. And he's another one that was on IR last year, wasn't he? Or did he stick?
No, I think he made it through the season. Easton Mascarenas-Arnold. Is Easton Mascarenas-Arnold now like on the bubble by virtue of Justin Jefferson, or can he take a step forward as a linebacker and be a more fully formed player? He was a really smart linebacker in college. Just didn't have a lot of oomph to him yet. Maybe that has changed, but like, I think that's an open question that they're going to have to answer. And maybe the Browns hope being the strong word here, that 3 safeties can get them through, but there are going to be a situation somewhere, somehow, where it's either going to be a linebacker or screw it. There's just going to be put another defensive lineman on the field to try to solve that problem.
Yeah. Well, I could see them only keeping 5 linebackers, maybe 6, but keeping 5 safeties. I could see that.
Love that idea. 5 linebackers is just right.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. You got Carson, you got Quincy, right? And then 3 reserves and, well, I guess it would be 4 unless you're going to cut one of Reed, Watson, or Easton Mascarenas. But it's going to be interesting to see. And who's the fifth safety going to be? Like, we know who the top four are. Well, the top three, I guess.
Oh,
Donovan,
that's why you said you go, hey, I really like Donovan McMillan. I think the Browns do too. I don't think they're like sitting here going, man, like I don't think they look at Emmanuel McNeil-Warren as like some damning indictment of
no way.
McMillan or Edmonds. I think they just sat there and go, you've got to have five safeties if we're going to do this, and they've got to be like it's no different than like. Obviously, I thought this was insane, but like the teams who are like going, we have to have 5 active tight ends if we're going to do this 13 personnel thing. We've got to have the bodies to do that. I think the Browns sat there and went, we may like, I think they're probably sitting there going, McMillan and Edmonds have to prove it more, but I think they sat there and went, we need 5 safeties we can play consistently, and in order for that to happen, we were going to need another one. So you add EMW. And hopefully McMillan takes another big step forward, and he's another guy who fits perfectly in terms of their size, speed. And he's got incredible, at least tested agility. That might be the dream for them if he can do it to operate out of the slot.
Yeah, agreed. And just to jump on this comment from Phil, I have to agree with it, Pete. Especially when you think about what he's done in the last 2 drafts, the last 2 off seasons that had. There were a lot of holes to fill, and he's hit on so much of it. Like we talk about the little things that like haven't happened, right? Like cornerback, we missed out on this year, depending on what you think of Coates, obviously. But edge rusher, we missed out on this year, so to speak. But he's hit so many needs. It's really kind of impressive how he's put these last 2 years together, and he's put him in a position. I mean, like the arrow's up. The arrow is flatly pointing up for us.
Maybe. I mean, Jefferson wasn't my favorite pick, and there are guys there are 2 linebackers right off the top of my head I would have rather picked if it were me. But nevertheless, that was the choice. So we'll see. I hope it works out. Like, I hope the vision of him being some special teams demon is realized. Again, watching him run around, I get the appeal. It's a question of, can he do what they need him to do? We shall see. If he can be, I'm not even talking about the return element. If he can be what Josh Cribbs was as a gunner and guys that can do that stuff, great. Like, job done. But like, it was not the most encouraging use of draft resources to me at that. Now, having said that, it was made up for in some ways by the fact they got Taylor Green and Carson Ryan, 2 picks I really did like. So we'll see. Yeah. I always look at every pick as an opportunity. I don't know that pick was maximized, but like, again, I'm curious to see if I'm going to hand a player to 2 coaches who have a track record for making it work. It's Mike Rutenberg and Jason Tarver with linebackers. So hopefully they're smarter than I am.
All right. Well, let's go to your other super duper favorite draft pick. Let's go to Joe Royer. Why is Joe Royer going to be Jordan Cameron?
What good for 1 year and then never again?
That's not fair, Pete. Come on, be nice.
That was Jordan Cameron's career, crushing disappointment because he got hurt.
Yeah,
he was really good.
He was really good.
He was also a little bit decidedly more athletic than Joe Royer. That's the big thing that Joe Royer just doesn't have, is he's just not a great athlete. He's an older player. The thing I respect about Joe, for a guy I've sort of ripped on, he's a very, very nice guy. He understands what he's supposed to do in terms of running routes and getting open and catching the ball. Like he gets the angles, and from what I saw, he was pretty good in the 7-on-7 stuff, and he was good in the competition periods, and he's good on tape and sort of getting a feel for where things are working. Now, one of the criticisms laid against him in college was, well, a lot of this is schemed open, and maybe I'm not so sure he's just not pretty good at understanding where he's supposed to go and where like the seams in the defense are. And that's like a real skill, especially for what he's going to do. The blocking element is obviously a big question with him, but like I've said all along with Joe Royer, he needs to hit fast. He needs to carve out a role immediately, which is unfair and unrealistic in some ways, but like that's the deal, because if he doesn't, everybody's going to sit there and go into next year. I mean, I'm already looking and saying the Browns need to once again address tight end.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
if he comes out and like plays pretty well, that may stave off a little of that attention and go, Joe Royer was a nice player as a fourth, fifth, sixth option, whatever he ends up being.
Yeah.
He does the Steve Hyden thing where like he doesn't get a lot of run, but every time he catches the ball, you're like, yeah, I enjoyed that. That was good.
Yeah. No, and look, I get that, but look, I'm looking at next year as, the potential for us to get our inline wide true like number one tight end as well. Like I would love to add that to this offense. I'm such a big fan of Harold Fannin, but I want him in the role he was in last year. I want him away from the muck. I don't want him on the line tangling with defensive ends. I have no issue, or I have no desire to see that from Harold Fannin. What is he? 6'2.5", 235 pounds. He's not built for it.
Royer?
No, I'm talking about Fannin.
That's
what I'm saying about like next year finding like a true Y inline tight end. And look, whether it's Carson Ryan or Joe Royer, I don't think either one of those guys are going to have the opportunity this year to take the Browns out of the mindset of we still need a Y. We still need a number one tight end to complement Harold.
I was going to say, because I think Carson Ryan, if he like translates, I think he could have a massive role in this offense, and maybe that's subjective, massive to me.
Yeah.
In terms of he could do take a whole lot of the dirty work off Harold Fannin's plate in terms of blocking. He could be a really good pass protection element. That could be a chip release guy, and I'll take Fannin completely out of that. I don't think Fannin's going to be doing much of that in this offense. I could be wrong. I think you're going to see a whole lot of Isaiah Likely in terms of how he's utilized, and they're going to be looking at him as a playmaker and a pass catcher. And part of the reason Carson Ryan was brought in, not only for depth, that role is enough that the Browns aren't going to like abandon it if Harold Fannin's out for a play or game or whatever. Carson Ryan can step in and do some of those things. If he can hold up and do the blocking stuff, man, he's going to have so much work that I think you're going to see a whole lot of Carson Ryan in the field. Now, that's a big task. 7th round pick. I get it. His athletic profile is outstanding. I really like this tape. We'll see how he handles the physicality as it ramps up. He's not small, but he's narrow.
And Pete, there's an absolute avenue for him to make this team and have a role. I
think he's going to make the team.
Yeah,
I think it's more of a question of just usage. I think it's the difference between you're going to see him active every week, contributing in every game. You get to the point where I think people are going to go, why am I seeing so much Carson Ryan as opposed to other things? Is a possible outcome.
What about Michael Burton at fullback? Do you think that's a guy that ultimately sticks, or do you think they're just going to keep 4 tight ends and have whether it's Fannin or Carson Ryan, or even Joe Royer? Apparently, according to the chat, said he's down to play fullback. So I mean, maybe they just kind of move those guys around, or do you think Burton has a chance to stick at 34?
I do not see Burton sticking because he's been here for 12 years. He's been in the league for 12 years. I think he's there to be instructional and show guys how it's supposed to work, and because he knows the answers and does all that stuff. But they are looking for somebody else. Now, I do not think Joe Royer is realistic in that role. Carson Ryan did a good bit of it in minicamp. A lot of it was shifting to it. Mm-hmm. Todd Monken said they're going to try him at that role and see if he can do it. I would not be shocked if the answer is not currently on the roster if Carson Ryan can't do it. But if Carson Ryan can do it, that obviously changes some things. Or if they want to bring in or utilize Kevin Stefanski's role, which frankly I think was really smart, and use a position player elsewhere and just put him in the backfield. I actually think that's a really good way to do it. I think Todd Monken wants a little bit more out of that position than that, where with Kevin Stefanski, he was there to block, and that was it. He was not going to chip release, and they were not going to send Aiden Huntington out for a pass.
Well, we know that they were interested in Patrick Ricard, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And Monken even called him a unicorn at one point because they.
Oh, he is.
Oh, yeah. No, he's an offensive guard that has fullback feet. It's pretty amazing. I'm glad he's out of Baltimore. That makes me happy for sure.
But the Browns will have to see him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's true. That is very true. Well, either way, Pete, great show. I had a whole list of the upcoming training camp battles that we were going to break down, but alas, we're going to have to push that off until next week. That'll be fun. obviously. But either way, thank you guys in the chat for sticking with us and being so active, and thank you for sticking with us throughout the course of the show. It is always a pleasure. Be sure to check out theobr.com for all the articles we've been hammering out. Pete's been doing such amazing work since the draft. Lane is always killing it in the Ask the Insider forums. Fred's the man. Anything contract-wise, you need to read Jack Duffin. He's the best in the biz. It's like I can't even think of anybody else that's even close. But either way, guys, thank you so much. Thank you to the OBR Streaming Network for hosting us. And we will catch you boys next week. And, hey, man, go Browns. Thanks for stopping by, fellas.